Hey guys, the name is Kris Barocsi. In today's Gear Corner episode, we're gonna be talking about stacking drive pedals. Now, before we start, two things. First of all, if you enjoy these videos, please hit subscribe, ring the bell and everything. I'd love to see you in this little community we have here. And the second thing is I always have gear information and timestamps in the description box under the video. If you open that up, you'll find tons of information. Now, when you're stacking gain pedals, you can aim for two things. First is having more gain thanks to the second pedal, or more volume. It's very important to get the order of the pedals right, because otherwise this will be messed up. First thing that's very important to understand is that the last gain pedal in the row will give you your tone. So you will hear that last gain pedal most, and all the other ones in front of it will of course change the corrector, more or less, but they will just sort of fine-tune that last gain pedal sound. I have a couple of pedals here today to try out and mix and everything. This is the amp on its own. It's the REVV Dynamis 740 head. It's on the clean channel and no pedals on right now. So that's gonna be the king of tone without anything stacked with it. Now I will boost the king of tone with two different pedals. The first is going to be the Antares Overdrive from PEDALS, and the second is going to be the Foxcatcher from Coppersound. Both do sound very different on their own. So this is going to be the clean amp with the Antares Overdrive. And the Foxcatcher. Let's see what happens if you boost the king of tone with one of these pedals. King of tone on its own, with the Antares in front of it. And then with the Foxcatcher in front of it. It still sounds like the king of tone. But when you start to play the guitar and not just, stick to bar chords and that's it, or power chords, these differences will become way bigger. Antares Overdrive in front of it. Foxcatcher in front of it. It still sounds like the king of tone does, That's what I mean with the last pedal in row will give you the tonal corrector, and all the pedals in front of it, even if you stack like 3 or 4 gain pedals, that's gonna be noisy. Those will change the EQ curve, the reaction, how tight or wobbly the low end is, and all of these things. I use the Foxcatcher with the king of tone whenever I'm playing a humbucker guitar, because humbuckers have way more mids, and I love this extended, high end and low end and whatever coming from the Foxcatcher. Whenever I use my telly, which is quite often, I prefer using the Antares Overdrive into the king of tone, because that pushes the mids, which single coil pickups, not always, but sort of lack a little bit. First of all, when you start stacking gain pedals, all of a sudden your setup is so versatile because of that, because you can change your sound depending on, you know, what the order is, how you set them up, whatever. You can have endless amount of awesome sounds with just 2-3 gain pedals. You can get very amp-like, very focused, even high gain sounds, and they cost way less than amps. Of course, you can go and buy a multi-effect and sort of simulate all these pedals. That will also work. I've mentioned at the beginning of this video that you might have two goals. First is more gain, you know, when you stack gain pedals, and the second is more volume. That's how I use my King of Tone. The right side is the high gain side, and that's my rhythm tone. And the left side, which comes behind, like after the right side, that is my solo boost. So I have it on a clean boost setting, which is still a little hairy, so it's not like a super pristine clean boost. Here's the right side of the King of Tone, my rhythm tone. Which type of pedals will work in the different positions? Let's say we are using 2 gain pedals and a clean amp. That's like a simple scenario, right? So pedal number 1 is going to be boosting pedal number 2, which is then going into your amp, right? So pedal number 1, that is going to be the pedal that needs, in order to get more gain, needs to have a nice and round sound and not a lot of gain, and definitely some mid-range going on. If there's too much bass, too much treble, things will go wrong. They will sound mushy and just not focused at all and just terrible. If you have too much gain, the second pedal is going to be overwhelmed by the amount of gain coming from the first pedal, and it will just, you know, mess up everything. Pedal number 2 is going to be, as I told before, the pedal that gives you your tone in this case, and that should have more gain than the first pedal, and definitely more of an amp-like sound. So if you have like a full range overdrive or like a neutral sounding overdrive, that's going to be position number 2. If you have a mid-humpy like Tube Screamer or anything similar, something low gain, that's going to be awesome in position 1 or like pedal number 1. Let me show you what happens if you don't get the order right. Position 2 pedal, the last pedal in row, is going to be the REVV G2 right now. But let's say I don't want to mess up my settings. Okay, I'll stack it with a pedal. I've chosen this super fat mod from Keeley, which is an awesome full range pedal, but it's not made to boost other pedals. G2 on its own. Super fat mod on its own. This happens if the super fat mod boosts the G2. And here's the interesting part. I use the same pedals the other way around. So this means the REVV G2 is boosting the full range overdrive, the super fat mod, and all of a sudden this happens. This is because the G2 is very versatile, has a 3-band EQ, and you can push the mids, go back with the gain, and maybe the bass end too. And of course, let's not forget about the classic, one of the very, very few pedals that started it all, the Tube Screamer TS-808. It's the pedal that most people started using to beefing up their Marshalls. One of my favorite Marshall type pedals is the Box of Rock from ZVEX. The guys at ZVEX nailed it exactly. This is how a JTM would react. It has such a wobbly low end. I mean, check this out. Let's bypass now. And here's the Box of Rock. It's not tight at all. When I want to go higher gain, I want to use like a medium gain or even a high gain sound with this pedal. That's where the TS-808 comes, because this is basically a pedal format Marshall with a Tube Screamer. Check this out, what happens to the low end and overall to the sound. You can also achieve having a very amp-like, very big metal sound with stacking pedals. I was very much into metal for the longest time, really, like Children of Bodom and stuff like this, and Lamb of God and Dream Theater and Opeth and all of these really good metal bands. So I was always very picky and sort of skeptic about pedals. And I always preferred using an amp preamp gain. This is why I also have my Mark III. I still love that sound, it's awesome. But what if you don't have the cash to get a Diesel, an Engel, a Mesa, a Rev, like a proper big Rev head? These are all very, very good amps, and they do have a unique sound and an incredibly tight and nice sound, but they do cost a lot. So what if you have just a not very expensive pedal platform amp and you want to have a couple of pedals? For that, I've chosen the REVV G4. What I love doing with it is stacking it for some parts, some songs with an overdrive in front of it, which helps me make it even more focused and very, very chuggy. So this is sort of my setting on the G4. And then if I want to have more gain, I will use for example, my Archer from J-Rocket, which is a clone type pedal. It also has a mid hump like a Tube Screamer, but has way more, presence and bottom end. Now, since I'm such a drive pedal nerd and such, a fan of this whole stacking thing, I'm really interested and really want to know how you do this. Do you stack gain pedals? Do you even use pedals? If yes, which pedals? I really want to see your setups. So meet you down there in the comment section. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell, and we will see each other very soon. Take care. Bye. Kris out.